explaining to you how to create an SQLite database for your Android application in Android Studio. So this tutorial is going to be focused on how you set it up and how you do the queries and all that kind of stuff, rather than actually creating a proper program. So this is just going to be a little program to illustrate how it's done. So this is what it's going to look like at the end. For example, username Bob, and then the password is hey. Alright, and then when we select that, it says results in monitor, which is the Android monitor here, and then you can see here Bob hey, and it's the same time as now. Alright, so that's it. Rather than write the code out every time while I'm explaining, because that's probably not what you want, you probably want something, quick. So I'm gonna have it open here, a copy of it, and I'm gonna be copy and pasting the code. And then if you wanna take a better look at it, you can just pause the video and take a look. But I'm gonna be explaining what you need to do. So first of all, you need to open an activity in Android. This, for example, is a blank activity. This is going to open your main activity here. So it's going to look something like this. This is where the main stuff happens and where the application is actually run. All right. So you first get this onCreate method. All right. So this is something you're going to get, this main activity, as soon as you open up your blank activity. And then you want to create two new classes, one called table data. This is going to contain all of the information about the table you're going to use. So it's going to look something like this. So I'm just going to copy and paste that in. The table data class implements the base columns interface. It also has an abstract subclass, which is table info, which has the actual variables that we're going to use. So this is kind of like a contract how we want the table to look like. And since we don't want these to be instantiated, we put in empty constructors like this. All right. So first of all, what you want to have is database name. I have here, for example, tutorial.db, and then database version. You need these two. All right, and then the name of the table you want, preferably name your variables in block capitals. All right, and then the actual columns that you're going to use. So for example, now I'm going to use a name and password like you guys saw in the beginning of the video. So these are the only things I'm using here. It's good practice to put the name of your table before the variable name. So rather than having this called name, have it called username, because user is the name of the table. All right, and then we're gonna have another class which is called the database open helper. This is where all of the stuff happens, like the queries and all of that stuff, and where all of the actions are called from. All right, so when we come to this here, okay, so the database open helper is a class that's going to extend the base class SQLite open helper. All right, so let's just copy. This constructor is going to has this line, the super context. This is going to actually do the creation of the database. So that's why I have database name here and the database version here. So you need this line. Okay, and then what I had at the top here is the query of creating my table. So I'm going to create a simple, this is just going to import the table info here. Yeah, this query is just to create the table. So I have here, as you can see, table name, and then create table name, and then username text, and then password text. Don't forget your commas here if you're going to add any columns or anything, and of course this here at the end. Okay, so now we go to our onCreate method. OnCreate is called the first time that the database is created. So we want to execute this create table. So we do db is just an instant of the SQLite of an SQLite database dot execute SQL, and then you put the name of this query inside that. That's gonna take care of it. Okay, the onUpgrade method we're not gonna use now. Okay, and then now you want to add the methods for inserting info and for getting info. All right, so I have them ready here. Okay, so basically for inserting info, you just the way I have it here, you need this line here. SQLite db.getWritable database. That means you can start writing, and then you need the content values, and then cv.put. That's gonna keep putting this value into this column, and then finally they're going to be executed in this line. All right. For retrieving it from the database, you're going to actually declare an SQLite database where you're gonna get a readable database rather than a writable database, and then you're gonna declare a string array, put the column names you're gonna use inside it, and then this line is very important when it comes to that. You're gonna use a cursor, which is a pointer to the rows returned, and then sqdb is just the instance dot query, and then this is just for query is just kind of a select from, and then this is the table name, columns, these columns, and then these are all for stuff like the where clause and the order by and stuff. You can search that online, and then this function returns the cursor, all right, which is the pointer to the row. Okay, now it's gonna compile and run and work if I wanted to. So how I have it here is I just have a button, and have a button here. When it's pressed, this pops up, and then if the username is entered correctly, if it's not empty, the password pops up, and then that then inserts it into the database. So as you can see here, button, and then insert. Like I said, pause if you want this code. Insert, and then on click. So when the button is clicked, it opens a dialog box and all of that stuff with the inserting the strings and all of that. It comes here to this line here. db is an instance of the db open helper class. Like I said, this is what we're going to use to access the database and insertion and deletion and stuff. So I have a function that we're looking at in the db open helper class called insert info, which takes a database and the username and password that we want to enter. All right, and then this is just a small text if it's successful. So this line is going to take the username and password, come here, and then username and password. It's gonna put username into the column, and then password into the column, and then insert using this line here. All right, and then initialize them both here. So for our second button, this one, select is just going to get the info. So it's not going to insert anything. It's just going to return the stuff that's already in the database. So this is how we have it here. On click, a pop-up comes up called results and monitor. That's just because this is called a monitor and the results are inside it. When you press OK, we declare a cursor, and then we do db, which is the instance of the open helper class, .get info, and then you send in the db. So this is going to call this function here. It's just going to say here, this is an SQLite database instance. You're gonna get a readable database into that, and then the columns, like we said, column names, and then it's going to execute the query and return the cursor here. All right, then the cursor is returned to this part. So if cr.getCount, this is the number of rows. If it's less than 1, meaning there's no rows returned, this is just error checking. You just say no rows returned, and then if rows were returned, we're going to use this cr.move to first. That's going to move the cursor to the beginning of the table. Okay, and then you do a do while loop. All this do while loop does is it just displays the rows and displays the position of the row and the first column and the second column, depending on how many columns if you have more columns, you're gonna have 2, 3, 4, and while there is a next one, it's gonna keep doing that. So this is gonna print everything inside the database. All right, so if we want to see how it looks now, we